Having had the opportunity to live with the Cybertruck now since Friday, so call that 2.5, almost 3 days, I've got a fairly simple conclusion. From the B pillar forward, I think it's advantage Rivian R1T. And from the B pillar backward, it's advantage Cybertruck. Now, the reason I say that is because of the snub nose front of the Cybertruck, you've got a much smaller front trunk. I also, and this surprised me, I've also got significantly less legroom in the driver's seat and front passenger seat of the Cybertruck than I do in the Rivian. And you can see that the Rivian's got a much longer front nose. So you can see how that makes sense. Much more storage in the front trunk and much more leg room in the front row. Now in the second row, there's a lot more room in this Cybertruck. And of course, it's got a 6-foot bed, so there's a lot more space in the bed as well. And those are the areas where you've got an advantage for the Cybertruck. Hey, it's Brian G, the EVOG again, and I'm back in the cockpit here of Hurricane, my brother's 2024 Tesla Cybertruck dual motor foundation series. I'm on my way to meet my brother to return his truck and pick up mine. And so I thought I'd spend a few minutes just sort of reflecting on the last couple of days living with the Cybertruck. I actually found myself missing Valkyrie, our Rivian R1T. That's not to say that I don't like the Cybertruck. I do. I just love our Rivian even more. As we talked about in part 1 of this series, my brother did some pretty cool modifications to this Cybertruck. It's got an awesome wrap. I called it black metallic in part 1 of this series. It's actually black stainless steel, which is why it continues to maintain the original sort of stainless steel look, even though it's a black wrap. It's called black stainless steel. So that's the first thing. I think that looks absolutely awesome. The other modification that he made was putting these 24-inch wheels from T Sportline on the truck. And it makes the truck look absolutely spectacular. I mean, it looks proportional to the size of the truck, which makes sense. But not only are these wheels big, they have some of the chunkiest tires I think I've seen on any truck, right? So when I'm driving this thing, between the combination of those tires and the dual motors in here, which seem to be louder than what I'm used to, it feels like there's a lot more vibration and noise in this Cybertruck than I typically would find in our Rivian R1T. So I don't want to use that as a strike against the Cybertruck. It could very well be the fact that my brother's got these 24s on here, and those 24s have some pretty chunky tires on here as well. So it could well be that combination that's giving me that experience. So that's the first thing that I would note. Another thing that I would point out is at 6'6", I would have thought that I'd have more leg room in the driver's seat. As we talked about in part 1, I've got to move the seat all the way back, and that's where I have it right now. But I don't feel like I've got enough leg room, even though I've got the seat moved all the way back. So what I think I've concluded is that the Cybertruck has much better second row seating in terms of leg length, but in the front row, in the driver and front passenger seat, you don't have the same amount of leg room as you would in the Rivian. I don't know if it's the snub nose front of the Cybertruck that causes that effect. And conversely, in our R1T, you've got this elongated front end. That also goes towards the storage space. That snubbed front end, I think, impacts both front trunk space as well as driver and front passenger leg room. There just isn't the same amount in the Cybertruck as there is in the Rivian. So I think the conclusion I've come to is that from the B pillar forward, there's more room in the Rivian, and from the B pillar backward, you've got more room inside of this Cybertruck, if that makes sense. So that's one of the observations that I've had. And as many road trips as we do, 500 plus miles each way, I don't know how comfortable I would be, even though the actual seats in the Cybertruck are more comfortable. Right, you can see that the headrest comes all the way up, and so the backrest, the bolstering, the headrest, all of that stuff in this truck is better. But I just don't have enough, hip to toe room in this truck to make for good comfort in long distance driving. Another area that I would point out is the fact that from within this vehicle, visibility is a challenge, right? We've got these really sizable A-pillars, both on the driver's side as well as on the passenger side, that make it a little bit challenging to see what's around you. I don't think that's a huge deal, because you've also got great side mirrors that are right here. And again, I don't know if this is the nature of having a dark interior versus a really light interior in our R1T, but it just feels darker and more closed in when I'm in here in the Cybertruck. Obviously, I've got much lighter seating and surfaces, as well as the headliner within the R1T, but it feels dark in here, even though this truck has white accents throughout. It definitely feels darker. It feels like I've got much less visibility. Part of that, obviously, is the fact that there's no rear window, right? With the tonneau cover closed, there's no way to see out the back. And so that limits visibility. It limits the light within the vehicle, making it darker. And so that's actually a fairly stark difference that my brother and I were talking about over the weekend. That, you wouldn't know that unless you lived with the truck for a little bit of time. The other area I would touch on has to do with the utility of the truck. And with the Rivian, you get access to that gear tunnel, which goes across the entire width of the truck and gives you tremendous storage space between the cabin and the bed. And you guys know that I'm a golfer, and that space works really, really well to store my golf clubs, and it also serves as a great place for me to sit when I'm transporting my golf clubs and I'm taking them out and getting ready to go play. The door of the gear tunnel also serves as a seat that I can sit on to put on my golf shoes as I'm getting ready to play, right? So that definitely, again, adds to the utility, in addition to the storage space that you have there. The other nice thing is that I can also, from the second row of the Rivian, we can actually reach into the gear tunnel by using a pass-through that is in the center armrest. Additionally, with interior storage, my brother went ahead and purchased the accessory that allows you to have storage beneath the seat in the second row of the Cybertruck, and that works great. The Rivian actually comes engineered that way, so the space is built in. It's not something you've got to purchase, right? That under seat space is there and you can take advantage of it. However, I think the Cybertruck also gives you the added benefit of, if you were to take out that storage box from under the seat, you can actually use it, the space there. You can fold the seat all the way back up in the second row and be able to, transport furniture, boxes, or whatever right there in the second row of this truck. So again, I do think that from the B-pillar backward, advantage Cybertruck. The great experiment has come to an end. But before we talk about your experience with the Rivian, talk to us about why you decided to buy the Cybertruck. Why did you have to get it early and pay a premium to do that with the Foundation series?
So after owning the S, the X, and then needing or wanting another vehicle, I had a 2012 Ford F-150. I believe every household should have a pickup truck, right? So I said, okay, well, here go Tesla's coming out with a Cybertruck. Let me look into it. So the night when it was unveiled, just like you, I was like, what the hell is that, right? So I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to get this thing. Oh, I'm not going to get it. But after thinking about it, looking at the price, looking at the things that it could do, not that I'm hauling a trailer. I don't have a trailer. Not that I have a whole lot of house projects that I really need a pickup truck. I just wanted a pickup truck at the house for whatever may come about, right? So like I said, it was a 2012 F-150, and I was looking to replace that anyway. Right. So after contemplating what I'm gonna do and things like that, I decided to go ahead and put down my $100 on it. So fast forward through the years, I was doing the research, looking at what's coming, what's the capability of the Cybertruck and things of that nature. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. Friend of the channel, Adam, we tried everything so I could use his reservation, try to get it to me, but it didn't work out. Thanks anyway, Adam. And then finally, my number was called. And I thought about it. Do I want to spend extra to get it early? But these are the things that stood out of my mind. It comes at a premium, yes, but the things that I'm getting with that premium charge, to me, it made sense for me. Now, what's for me may not be for you or anyone else, but for me, it was fine. I needed a vehicle. 2, I wanted the Foundation series, right? It's something that's new from Tesla, and I want to have the flagship of it coming out first. It came with the mats, it came with the decor, the white decor on the inside. And the one thing that's more that stands out that no one really talks about is the bi-directional charging. To me, that's what makes this truck, even more inviting, is the bi-directional charging. So if it's offered, if you have to pay $20,000, you get bi-directional charging, you get all the different the mats, the decor, the badging, and all that, and the self-driving. That's all included. So I decided to pull the trigger on it, and I'm elated that I did it. This vehicle handles like none other. I thought the Model X handled great, but this handles so much better than the Model X. I'm totally happy with the decision I made. Totally happy.
Now, there's been a lot of comments already about the wrap and the modifications that you've made beyond the, the 24s, the painted calipers. Talk about the wrap. How'd you end up with, because everybody's wrapping the Cybertruck, right? And I know you want it to be a little bit distinctive, but how'd you end up with this?
So initially I said I was going to wait about a year or so before I wrap the vehicle, but it's impossible for you to keep this vehicle clean if you don't wrap it. It's impossible. There's no way. I'm talking, as soon as I wash the vehicle, when you're wiping it off, you're putting your fingerprints back on it, right? So I'm the type of person I like having my vehicles clean all the time. I wash my vehicles at least once a week, right? And I try to keep it clean, but I noticed if I didn't wrap it, it wasn't gonna happen. So there's an EV channel that I look at a lot, EV Butter. That's his hashtag.
Yeah.
And he actually has the same wrap, right? And I didn't want to really bite his style, but I've never seen a wrap like this before, right? And he's all the way on the West Coast, right? So I actually sent a message to him. I asked him about the wrap. I asked him about the durability of the wrap, right, and the color. And he was gracious enough to tell me about it. And I just decided on it. I haven't seen anyone to our area here in Maryland that have this color. A lot of people have the matte black,
yeah,
right, or a gloss back, but not this particular black that has the black stainless steel in it. Where I try to keep it as close to the vehicle as possible, right? Because they also have a titanium stainless steel, but that's more so the same color what the truck came in, minus the fingerprints and things of that nature. But the contrast of this color, the wheels, was perfect for me with the truck.
Definitely looks awesome. So how long have you had the truck now?
I believe it was June of 2024 we took delivery.
So coming up on 5 months.
Yep, coming up on 5 months. And when I first got it, upon delivery, I had to get an alignment because the wheel was off slightly. But the guy at the service center, he was like, bring it back in, we'll take care of it. Took it in, it took care of it. I haven't had any issues, no mechanical issues, knock on wood, and I've been driving without any problem since. I'm approaching about 8,000 miles now.
Okay, so what's your favorite thing about this?
My favorite thing about the Cybertruck is how easy it is to operate. And they look big, bulky, but it's so nimble. When you're going through parking lots or you're on the highway, that's the best thing that I like about it. It's how nimble it is and how it basically is a smooth ride going down the highway.
Okay, so what's the worst thing about it?
The worst thing about the Cybertruck would be the range. I would have loved for it to have at least 400 miles range because that was promised, right? But it didn't happen. So I'm not like most people that whine and cry about it. It didn't happen. But for me, this is my everyday. Like I said, I don't tow. I don't go long distance. Yes, I went to Florida. Yes, I go to Philly. But I'm content with stopping and charging for 30 minutes and being on my way. But the range for me is the least thing.
So what are you seeing? Because you do the Philly trip, you've done Florida. What on a full charge? What are you seeing?
On a full charge, I'm seeing about the way I drive. And like I said, I'm not a speed demon. I'm seeing about
But you are.
I'm seeing about 275, 280. Right?
That's plenty.
And that's doing about maybe 85, 90.
Okay.
Right? But of course I'm doing that, but it doesn't feel like that.
Right.
I'm going down the highway, I'm thinking I'm doing about maybe 75, and I look down, I'm doing about 90. But that's how smooth the vehicle is.
So let's go over and look at Valkyrie and talk about the 2.5 days that you spent with that.
So, Valkyrie.
Man, this is a truck, but it looks like a toy next to the Cybertruck.
Let me start off by saying,
I mean, it's like it's you've got the sun coming in from the left, and it looks like Valkyrie from that side we can't even see it.
So let me start off by saying the 2.5 days that I had the Rivian, it's not for me, right? I'm gonna go back to what I said initially. If you want to pick a truck, in my opinion, I think this would be for a person who want to pick a truck. Let me tell you why. When I had my F-150, this is what this felt like. It's a truck, you sit down in it, and I was looking for something more. I was looking for something more fun to drive, right? Yes, it has a lot of good features in it. We can talk about the good features in it, but to me, it wasn't fun to me, right? The Cybertruck, you step on the accelerator, to me, it gives you more pop initially. Now on the top end, when you really push down on it, the Rivian, it goes, right? But to me, it just wasn't fun to drive. I didn't really
the nimbleness and maneuverability, right? So that goes right back to steer-by-wire, 4-wheel steering, right? Making it super maneuverable over here with the Cybertruck.
And let me say this also. Now, like I said, I've had 4 Teslas, so I may be biased, right? Because of what I'm used to since 2012, 2013. I've always driven a Tesla, so I'm used to it. A Tesla, I compare a Tesla to an iPhone. Like this is an iPhone, and this is a Android product. Of course, everyone knows an Android product requires a little more than an Apple device. An Apple device is really simple. Anybody could use an Apple device, but this is not. It's not bad, but it just wasn't for me. You know, the 4-foot bed. Although again, I don't do a whole lot of hauling.
Right.
I don't like the 4-foot bed. I wanted the bed should have been a little larger, a little bigger. As far as the interior feels roomier than the Cybertruck. it felt bigger to me. And we talked about it. I don't know if it's because of the color.
Yeah, so here's my theory, and we talked about this a little bit last night, right? Which is, you know, when you look at the profiles of the vehicles, right? Because you've got this big front nose here, right? I've got a much more sizable front trunk. Because of the snub nose here, it's a much smaller front trunk that you've got there. But then it also carries into the cabin where, like you said, it feels bigger in the Rivian. And I think that's largely because from the B pillar forward, the Rivian has more space, right? So from that B pillar here forward, we've got more space here, right? For the front and for the front row, driver's seat, front passenger seat. But then you get to that second row and the bed, and that's where Cybertruck has, you know, a lot more space. But, and you can't really necessarily feel this in 2 days with the truck, the utility of that gear tunnel is huge. That, right, with a pass through all the way to the other side, just gives you some additional storage there. And this becomes a nice place where you can sit down, right? Change your shoes if you're going to play golf or whatever. But a great place to have storage here. So this is actually a first aid kit on this side. And then on the other side, because it does go all through the width of the vehicle, right? This one is actually, if you open that up, that's the cable for the air compressor,
Right.
which disappointingly, frankly, the Cybertruck doesn't give you an air compressor, even though it's got those massive, I'm gonna come over here so people can see it. Actually, it's in the front where you see it. You've got these massive, I don't know if those are Bilstein air canisters, right? Because they're both on air suspensions. I don't know why they didn't give us a air compressor, right? You've got great onboard power. You've got, finally, from Tesla, off-boarding, right? Bidirectional charging, which is something that Rivian has said we have. They just haven't enabled it yet, right? So hopefully that'll happen soon. But that's really the summary for me, is that B pillar forward, I've got more space, both in the cabin and the front trunk. B pillar backward, a lot more space in the Cybertruck.
Right. But like I said, so it's all in what the consumer would want to spend his or her money on, right? It's up to you what you like. Everyone doesn't like the same thing, right?
Exactly.
And I love that you have competition out here when it comes to a vehicle. Now, I haven't driven a Ford F-150, but a couple of my friends asked me, well, you already own a Ford.
The Lightning?
The Lightning. You already own a Ford, why didn't you just get an electric Ford vehicle? I wanted something different.
What else do we need to say about this exchange?
Well, let me talk about the tech in here. Let me talk about the tech.
Okay.
So, typically how I drive the Cybertruck is one hand, just like this. One hand like this, one hand like this. Right?
Well, yeah, so you got this little tiny squircle.
That little tiny steering wheel, right? So, reverting back to a conventional steering wheel, like I said, the vehicle just felt larger because I have now a larger wheel to hold.
Yeah, it's not a video game controller in your hand.
Right. It's a larger wheel. And what kind of threw me off, and I said this before, is it hides the screen behind it, right? Because on the screen you have your navigation there. It has
the turn cameras.
Your turn cameras, right? So my seating position, I noticed that when I put the turn signal on, I couldn't see the turn cameras. Right? It was kind of blocked on the left side and on the right side too. And then in navigation, I was more so looking at the.
Did you try to adjust the steering wheel to change that?
I did, but then I won't be comfortable with how
where it is.
Where
yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah. That's something that other owners have complained about. It seems to work fine for my position and where the steering wheel is, but that's a known issue that people have brought up.
But where we are now with vehicles, I said it before, do we really need that other screen? We don't really need it now.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
We do
well, okay. Well, we want it. I want the
it.
damn driver's display.
Yes, you and everybody else, but you don't need it, right? Because when you're driving, everything you need is right there on the screen. But this goes to preference now, right?
Well, it goes to, I think, Tesla on some level reinventing the wheel, quite literally, right? You've been driving since you were 16 years old. I've been driving since I was 16 years old, right? Each of us now have been driving almost 40 years, right? And so there's a lot of muscle memory that's built up over that time in terms of the way you react, right? And some of this stuff is just innate, right? Something happens on the road, so for example, with me, if I got to slam on my brake, I instinctively look to the rear view mirror to see if there's somebody that's going to rear end me.
Right.
That's not going to work in the Cybertruck because they made a decision that they were going to put a rear view camera on the screen instead of giving us a digital rear view mirror, which is where almost all of us are going to look to because that's what we've done forever. Right? That muscle memory is just ingrained in us, right? So I want to have a driver's display because I don't know how many times, like in the Model 3, where I'm navigating someplace that I'm not super familiar with. I may be doing something else on the screen. I just like having that other driver display where I've got, what my next turn is that's coming up, and I can kind of see what that is while something else is going on the center touchscreen, whereas in here it's single threaded into that one screen. If it's not there,
But that goes back to I'm conditioned by Tesla, right? I'm conditioned, right? Because like I said, everything I'm programmed to always look to my right because everything is there.
Yeah.
Since 2012, 2013, everything is there. So for me, of course, I'm going to say I don't need that because I've been conditioned to always look to the right. Where you, on the other hand, you've had other vehicles that have that besides the Tesla. So, again, that just goes to preference, right?
Well, not only that, I think it goes to kind of what Tesla is doing similarly to Apple, which is keeping you within their ecosystem.
Yeah, everything I need is on the steering wheel. Where other vehicles, you have stocks, you have the center display, you want to go over here, you change things. Tesla's it's mainstream right here. It programs you to just sit in the car, hold the steering wheel, and go. It just makes driving so much easier. It makes driving fun, right? I don't have to be all over the place looking for things. Everything is right there. Everything I need.
See, those of us who have, I don't know, maybe it's ADD, right? I want to be able to go from the center screen to the driver display to, in some cases, I was looking at the Hummer EV SUV yesterday, where it's got the driver display, it's got the huge center touchscreen, and it's got buttons, right? So the variety of sensors, if you will, within it is something that I actually enjoy going to deal with all of those different things. But part of the reason I won't go down that path with GM is unless and until they can demonstrate consistent prowess with software updates that makes the vehicle better over time, which is ultimately what we're talking about, right? This thing is completely software defined, and they're the best at it. Rivian's probably second best, but they still have a long way to go.
Right. But it wasn't like that when I purchased it, right? Of course, we all know it was no full self-driving.
Yep.
Even the assist to park wasn't with this vehicle. And I didn't know this. The non-foundation series doesn't have full self-driving. I was reading something where they haven't released it to them yet.
So let's talk about that for a second, because, and I don't know how much experience you've got with full self-driving outside of this vehicle. I drove out here yesterday to film the Polestar 3, and the whole way on full self-driving, 0 interruptions, worked flawlessly. Other times over the weekend that I've tried it, one time it almost, hit a car. One time it was trying to go in with the Cybertruck. So my sense is, because I also tried it in a Model 3, and the Model 3 over the course of, the week and a half that I had it, it was pretty much flawless, which was shocking to me. So I'm wondering if maybe it's still learning, right, how to interpret things that it's seeing and analyzing. That process is still ongoing. So maybe this vehicle isn't as dialed in with full self-driving as maybe a Model 3 is.
So since Tesla has released the full self-driving for the Cybertruck, I haven't had any real issues, right? What impresses me the most about the self-driving Cybertruck is how it thinks, right? And when I say about thinks, it's like when you come to a four-way stop, it demonstrates courtesy to the other driver, right? You pull to a four-way stop, okay, I'm there first, I'm gonna go through. But no, a couple weeks ago, the other driver got there after me, and he or she proceeded basically to do a rolling stop through the stop sign. Cybertruck didn't jerk, it didn't do anything, it just coasted.
It's almost like it knew the human was going to
do something stupid and continue
yeah.
to move. So, it's slow and let the other car pass. But as far as keeping its lane, the speed and the distance between cars, no issues. I also I tried out
the Driver Plus.
The Driver Plus, and that was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. I mean, I didn't try. I don't know if it changes lanes or not.
So you have to manually change lanes. So if you're making a legal lane change, meaning you put on your turn signal, you can then change lanes, and then what happens is it automatically re-engages. Okay. Right? So that part of it is pretty nice. The Volvo and Polestar actually work the same way. But what really drives me nuts about it is you have to be on a mapped road. Right? With Volvo, you don't have to do that. Obviously, with Tesla, you don't have to be on a mapped road. With Rivian, it won't work on all roads as long as there's lane markings.
I was really pleased because we were in a lot of traffic and we didn't have a big gap between the other car. It kept a decent distance, and also the speed, because we were doing like around even 70 miles an hour there, and it kept a really good distance. Then when the car in front of me applied its brake, it slowed down, it didn't jerk, it didn't panic, and okay, let me stop. So I was impressed with that.
Talk to me about regen.
So the regen, again, let's go back to me being biased because I've always driven a Tesla, right? So I wasn't used to the regen in the Rivian because I haven't tried it, the different settings, the low, the medium, and the high. And for me, it didn't work for me. And that's only because I've always driven a Tesla. I know once I take my foot off the accelerator, I know what a Tesla is going to do. I know what it's going to do. I know exactly the amount of space it's going to give me. Now, the regen in the Cybertruck is a lot more than the regen in the X, the S, and the Y. Whereas when I was driving this, yes, but then I noticed, oh man, I'm not stopping as quickly in the Rivian as I am in the Cybertruck. But that's because I know what this is going to do. I only had this for 2.5 days, but I had this for months. So that's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I felt like the regen in the Cybertruck wasn't strong enough, but
Really?
that's because I drive with the highest setting of regen, for over a year now with this R1T, and the regen when you turn it up to high is really strong, right? So I don't have to use the brakes at all. Even at a high speed, it slows you down pretty quickly, right? But this, once I got used to it, it was totally fine. What I also like about the Rivian, though, now having experienced this, is just the flexibility, depending on how I'm feeling, to be able to tweak things like that. And I was actually surprised to find that they don't allow you to change the regen on it. Hey, this is Brian G from the future jumping in here. There's a critical aspect of the tech that we didn't talk about on camera, but we chatted about a couple of times, is the current absence of streaming video within the Rivian software stack. This is something that we know is coming, but currently we don't have the ability to stream, YouTube and other services on the infotainment system within the vehicle. Now, we do know that Rivian almost imminently now will be issuing a software update that will add an automotive infotainment first, with the ability to use Google Cast. And the way that works is you first have to connect your mobile device to the Wi-Fi hotspot within the vehicle. And within the Rivian, we've got the ability to connect up to 8 different mobile devices to the vehicle's Wi-Fi connection. Interestingly, that is also not something that you can do with the Cybertruck or any Tesla. They don't give you the ability to use your vehicle as a Wi-Fi hotspot. And that's something we use all the time on long road trips. Having said that, with that feature, right, the ability to connect to the Rivian's Wi-Fi, we will soon have the ability to stream whatever it is that we're streaming on our device to the vehicle's infotainment screens once that software update comes out. So that's one other difference between the two driving platforms or software platforms here that's worth noting. Also, in the category of tech, the Rivian also gives us a couple of nice accessories, at least in our early editions. Included in the vehicle is what we call this camp speaker, which is a nice Bluetooth speaker, high quality Bluetooth speaker that lives below the center armrest, that comes out and allows you to connect to your device and use as a speaker. It also works as a lantern if you're camping. And we also get this cool, Rolls-Royce feature of a flashlight, 1000 lumen flashlight, that's tucked away nicely right in the door of the vehicle. It charges while it's in that holster, and it's always available to you. So a couple of nice little accessories there included in our Rivian that make for a nice touch with this vehicle.
But Rivian, the seats, the interior, I love the interior. I love how it looks. Now, as far as the feel of it,
yeah, it looks great, but
but it's not holding me. I'm not, I'm not in there. I don't feel like it's
you're on it versus in it.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right. So, but I love the interior, man. The dash, the wood, everything, beautiful. The seats, the feel of the leather, the headrest, beautiful. Like I said, the look of it, the badging, everything, beautiful. The suede, the headline.
What about sound system? Did you?
The sound system is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the sound system of the Rivian.
Yeah. They both have really good sound systems.
And I couldn't tell you which one was better. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. But overall, like I said, it's just what your preference is. You know, for me, it's Tesla. You know, for you, it's Rivian.
Yeah, I've reached the point now where right now it's Rivian. I'm excited about all the different options that are out there, and I'm definitely looking forward to exploring. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when I publish new videos. Anything else that you want to share with the people on this experience?
You basically covered it.
One is completely stock, and this thing is totally
and
kitted
I'm not
out.
Finished yet. So I'm gonna add. We had discussion about the rear view mirror. That's another modification I'm gonna do.
Yes, and once you do that, I'll
Yep.
make sure I put it on the channel.
Hopefully in the next few weeks or so, I'm gonna change out the rear view mirror to a digital one, and we'll see
Yeah,
how
it
goes.
frankly should have come with that, but yeah.
But that's it. So y'all take care.
All right.